The Holy Spirit in each of us connects us with one another. And this Genesis story, I think, is really the foundation of that idea. It's not really a scientific explanation of where humans come from. It's a theological understanding, maybe a theological anthropology. What are humans in terms of theology? And the answer to that is a story. I love that it's a story. And the story goes like this, that God took earth and shaped it into this creature. God is sort of a sculptor here. And then bends down and breathes into the nostrils of that earth sculpture, and it becomes a living being. The breath of life is breathed in, and it becomes a living being. And the language here for breath is also language for wind, but also language for spirit. The Spirit of God is in that dirt, animating that dirt to make a human being. What I like to say about that is anything that makes you more interesting than a pile of dirt, that's God's Spirit within you. Not just you, but everybody. So a couple things about this creation story. It's in the second chapter of our scriptures. So what this means is way before there were Christians, the breath of God was in human beings. So it's not saying, oh, the breath of God is in the church only. And it's way before Israel became a nation, and before Father Abraham created the Jewish people. So it's not saying that the Spirit of God is in one particular people. What this story says is that the Spirit of God is in all human beings. That's how we came to being. That's how we are created. All humanity bears this Spirit. And I think this is a wonderful image for how we might relate to one another. A more traditional way in the church, I think that most of us have been taught, is to say that God is the Father up in heaven, and then we are children of God. And a more modern way of thinking is that God is a mother or a parent and we are children. But that still kind of pushes God away from us in a way that this idea of God's indwelling, I think, kind of corrects. And here's kind of the trouble I've had with the father and children thing. I think what that implies about how we get along is that we should treat each other like we are brothers and sisters, which can be great, but also can be kind of problematic. And I think back to the way I treated my brother and sister when we were young, and it wasn't always great. And I was thinking just this week about why that was, and I think I never really thought anything I did to my brother or sister would compromise my parents' love for me. You know, I thought, well, I can. They don't like that I hurt my brother, but they're not going to stop loving me if I hurt my brother. And I think we sometimes get that way with one another. That it's like, well, God might be a little upset with me if I don't treat this person well. But God's not going to cut me off from God's love because God is a gracious God. So the perspective changes, I think, if we think, well, no, this person isn't just a brother or a sister, but this person is a bearer of the holy. That is, if I mistreat that person, I'm actually mistreating God in some way. The good side of that is that if I can find a way to commune with that other person, I'm actually communing